And I'll never forget when we showed up to 30th AG, where it's the in-processing piece where you're going to get yelled at. Everybody, there were the whole command. They were standing at the position of attention and they were saluting us by the pole, when we came in, and they said, "Look, we don't act this way, boys, but you guys are the first group that's shown up after, we've been attacked since Pearl Harbor," and they're like, "We damn respect it."
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. So this is the Pipeline podcast from military to business. I'm Jared Miguez. I'm with Dominic Luke. And today I got my boy Ryan Rayburn here with us. We've been buddies for 6-7 years now. Kind of got business started together.
Yeah. A
lot of mutual contacts. I got a lot of respect for this guy. I'm just really excited to kind of hear his story and tell everybody else what he's got going on. So, the purpose of this podcast is to help promote guys who are in the military or that are veterans of the military, that small businesses. We're here to honor your story, bro. And that's the whole thing. We want to hear, kind of where you came from, how you got into the military, how that shaped who you are today. Hopefully we can teach some people some lessons. We want business owners to listen to this and take away some key attributes, what they can do to grow their business, and then tell everybody what you're doing next. So let's kind of start. Full name, what branch of the military you were in, and kind of what got you into the military.
Yeah, well, happy to be here. Always from the first time you and I met, like, who's this guy? He's a stud, And that part of this thing for me, like I said earlier, it's improbable. That the path less traveled, however you want to say it. Ryan D. Rayburn, I put that D in there. That's a part of my story. My dad passed away in a car accident right before I was 3 years old. Yeah. Which led me to live with my grandfather, Joseph Touye, down in Sorrento, Louisiana,
nice.
Down there in the swamp.
Yeah. Down up the bayou from where my wife is from.
Yeah,
from
that's
Thibodeau.
right. And Papa Joe joined the Army right after the World War II. So he did his tour, became a sergeant, and they said, "Hey, see you later. You got to go." He couldn't even stay. They were downsizing after all that, and he was walking out, as legend may have it, and an Air Force guy says, "Hey, we'll take you." And so Papa Joe then did his 35 years in the Air Force.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
how many years was he in the Army?
I think 3 or 4 years.
And then 35 in the Air Force.
Yeah, so,
Wow.
rolled the whole wave. And I actually, you and I have spoken about, you've seen the dojo, my little special place where I, think, and there's no TV in there, and it's just my little place.
Sanctuary, huh?
Little sanctuary, and Papa Joe's travel chest that he was in the military with, going back and forth. It's in there, and I was able, maybe 3 years ago, my mom finally gave it to me. I've been asking for it for a long, long time.
That's awesome.
And I went through all of his documents. It was a treasure chest. I would rather have what was in it than $100 bills.
Yeah, wow.
And I got to go through my grandfather's, every single one of his, classified pictures of rockets and all he did all of the, I guess, the missiles and things like that at Vandenberg Air Force Base. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that part all comes, whenever I had that decision to make. I just graduated high school, 2001, May, from Christian Life Academy in Baton Rouge. Was no scholar at that point. Didn't know
Seems to be a theme.
Learned a lot, but that piece of it, September 11th happened shortly thereafter. And, I'd always, seeing my grandfather and seeing his military stuff on the wall and just knowing who he was, and Both sides of my grandfathers were all, Navy, World War II. Papa Joe was in, right after, so the military was always had a presence.
Yeah.
And then, as a kid, when my mom had to get a couple of jobs, and we stayed with Mama and Papa, and I watched a lot of G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Rambo, Commando.
That
all
was
of
it, man.
Yeah.
So for me, it was all Army,
That's
all
awesome.
the way. And I'll never forget, it was in my mind. I was, I wasn't at LSU. I had just gotten out of Christian Life Academy, and I was at BRCC trying to get my, grades up to go to LSU. At that point, it was like, here we are. And then boom, September 11th happens. And that was like, that was my crossroads, and I fought with it, and I said I got to do this. This is it, And once that little seed was planted, it was it grew into a massive oak tree, and I went down to Siegen Lane. There was an Army, and there was a Marine recruiting station.
Yeah.
And I got the courage to pull up.
How old were you at this point?
I was 18.
18?
18. And I went up to the Marine door, because my stepdad was in the Army. And, they had some cool damn commercials at that point, too. And I said, let me check these guys out. Went to open the door, and it was locked. And right when that happened, the door opened from next door, and it was Sergeant First Class Washington, an infantry E7 that was on his last little piece before he retired. And he reached out. He said, "Hey man," he said, "Hey, man, they're always at lunch, man." He said, "Come on here, come talk to me." And went in there and
roped you right in.
Yeah. Look,
easy pickings.
Well, and it got even easier as soon as I showed up. I said, "Man, I want to be in the infantry. Is there any way you can do that?" And he said,
"Oh yeah, I'll get you in."
Oh yeah.
Oh
buddy.
yeah. He said, "Yeah, I can get you in the infantry."
No doubt about that.
And
That's funny.
and at that point, he gave me information and told me that I needed to pass a physical assessment.
Yeah.
And
Those pictures of you back in the day, there wasn't a problem.
oh yeah, no, look, that was one of the things that I was strong at. And one thing in the military, you figure out if you can, just keep your head down and show up on time and run fast,
You'll be all right.
You can be all right.
You're gonna make it.
People will encourage you. The whole way.
They'll cheer you the whole way. Oh, keep going, buddy.
That's it. But he gave me that information. I went and told my mom back at the house, and she, was not happy about it. I remember her, tearing up, being very, I had a very strong relationship with my mom. You can call me a mama's boy. You can call me whatever you want. I'll take that as pride. But just to kind of teach you, who my mom was, this is no joke, man. She would wake me up at 4:35 a.m. She'd make a pot of coffee, and she would go run with me.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah. In Oak Hills.
As you're training for the military or just in high school?
Training for going to Fort Benning in a couple of months.
Wow.
And
That's a
she
good
sure
mama
did.
right there,
She and then I got to the point a couple weeks in where she couldn't keep up, but I would loop and come back and get her on the way back. But I always think of that, how strong my mom was in that scenario, which it prepped me. And Fort Benning, here we come. I remember.
Is that where Shane went? Mm-hmm. Is that where Shane was at?
Yeah, home of the infantry. That's where you're going. If in that time frame was it was the first time since Pearl Harbor, that we had been attacked, and it was this thing. And you saw the picture I have in the dojo where it's the New York Times, and it's that was it. That was very, very. Any way you want, you see the global war on terror and, whatever it's become, then it was a different, it was a different mechanism for me. And I remember getting on that airplane. I had a guy that was supposed to sign up and go with me on the buddy program, and he didn't show. And I remember my phone was, I'm running out of battery. Like, where you at, man? And, So that was like one of the first, oh my goodness, scenarios. It's everything. It wasn't on track early on, and and you start to just go with it and just continually, moving through each objective. And I'll never forget this. This was a big deal. It's late, it's maybe 2 a.m. You get to the Atlanta airport and you're looking for all the guys that, have orders, and you just all these younger kids or whoever, there was people, but you could just see the anticipation or the fear, whatever you want to call it, building up in this little group of guys. And sure enough, it was, the group going to Fort Benning. You show up, you get in a van, and this was, maybe it was a bus. It was maybe 30 guys. We show up to Fort Benning, and you've got this lump in your stomach, and I'll never forget when we showed up to 30th AG, where it's the in-processing piece where you're going to get yelled at. Everybody, there were the whole command. They were standing at the position of attention and they were saluting us by the pole, when we came in, and they said, "Look, we don't act this way, boys, but you guys are the first group that's shown up after.
Wow.
We've been attacked since Pearl Harbor," and they're like, "We damn respect it."
That's awesome.
And
Yeah,
after
pretty
this,
cool.
so it was like that. It was so intentional. It wasn't just another group.
Yeah.
This
was the next phase.
This was everyone that had signed up from that point had known, where and what,
You were getting into.
what
Or
we
you
were
really
getting
didn't know what you're getting into, but you're getting into shit.
Yeah, you were going for a reason. So
And how old were you? You were 18.
I was 18, yeah.
years old.
And
Dude, what
looking
a
back,
moment in your life at that age to like see the, being saluted at that young of an age coming into the military.
yeah,
That had to be pretty impactful.
it was, yeah. And I think, looking back, there's some things that have happened where you necessarily didn't, realize how deep that moment was. But looking back, thinking about all these, pieces of the puzzle that fit in, like, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
I still remember, like, everybody's kind of like, what are all these guys doing? Why are drill sergeants out here?
Yeah.
What
You were
is
expecting to
this?
get yelled at.
You were expecting to get shark attacked.
no
This
doubt.
is it.
Yeah.
And there, there's the likes of, the Tillmans, all the heroes.
Yeah.
They were out there early on, and then it began. That was it.
Dude, that's awesome.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So you were at Benning. You were there, boot camp. You went to infantry school.
Yeah.
Where were you stationed? What did you do next?
Yeah.
Because
So
you were in
next,
for 4 years total? Right?
3 years.
Okay. So
3 years.
01
Yeah.
to 05.
I know. Well, that's got to put some respect on Rhonda. My mom, I initially signed a 6-year contract, and she said, cough this down. Let's just see if you like it.
Let's go down to 4. We can always add more.
Yeah, and I think that it may have saved my life. There's no question about, because the way that it fell, we went. I had the trajectory, the path. You have some people that go into the military and never have any opportunity to go to war or to actually, it's training, and then wham, you're out.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like straight in, then I got to Fort Carson, Colorado, 4th Infantry Division. It was a little bit off of my path. I thought I was going to do the Ranger School, go that direction. And I didn't have a contract. And they said, well, no problem. If you're the best, you'll get scooped up. Our Ranger School and selection, or just all you got to do is be the best. And so all throughout basic training, I was Alpha 254 and Alpha Gator, and you had your graduation. Well, early on, the drill sergeant said the top eight guys, your honor squad, you get to do this demonstration. Sniper demonstration at graduation. You're part of the crew, and you're gonna be part of the best. You'll get scooped up. Sergeant Major will come down. Someone will be there from Ranger selection. So in my mind, I got it. And I was I have a picture of Rhonda and I'm in my green. All you can see is my white teeth smiling, and I right after graduation, we went and, I'm looking for this, sergeant major. I'm thinking, wow, I'm scooped up. Where's he at? And there was no one there. And I don't know if I missed him or whatever it may be, but that piece of it, it's like, okay, well, what do these orders say? Okay, I got to go to Fort Carson, Colorado to go to the 4th Infantry Division, which you necessarily didn't think would have been, a key component in any invasion scenario. But boy, in Iraq, those mechanized units, so that was a core. You had 3rd Infantry Division, which gave one of the main push through. With our unit, we were supposed to be led in from the north, and Turkey at the very last second said, "No, sir, y'all aren't coming through the north." So it totally changed our plans. We had to put all of our vehicles back on ships, and they had to go back around, and we had to meet in Kuwait. Yeah, so that was one of the pieces of war that just was a total, we basically kind of felt like we were, our initial invasion was skewed a tad bit, and we didn't get any of the glory on TV because our boats are on, we're on boats waiting to come around just to unload our vehicles, but, that year in Iraq was, goodness gracious. I haven't talked about it a lot. There's so many different great things that happened, so many terrible things, but just the mental fortitude, just to get to that next day, goodness gracious.
Yeah. So we talk a lot. The name of the podcast is The Pipeline, and we really eventually want to get to your pipeline from your military career to your business career. But Dom's pipeline was different. He's a PJ, so his pipeline was a little bit longer than yours.
Oh yeah.
How long was your pipeline from basic to getting your orders or getting your doing your job in the military?
Yeah, so they call out your orders, right at the end of, I guess, basic or AIT, Advanced Infantry Training at Fort Benning. And I still remember, one of our drill sergeants, they're throwing out the orders, and they look and say, "Rayburn, you're going to the 4th Infantry Division," and threw it to me, and I'm trying to figure out what that is. And I a short period after that, you get your little week off or 2 weeks off, and I went to, my parents took me to Destin.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember that little trip. And here I am. I'm this child. I'm a kid, felt like I was a giant at that time. Looking back, I was 18.
Yeah.
And hit Fort Carson, Colorado. And then, just like that, their whole thing was train. You go out to the field, and I'll never forget, you don't really understand what a motor pool is until you're a, private first class in the, United States Infantry mechanized unit, and they say, hey, go to the motor pool, and you see this just rows of tanks and Bradleys and LMTVs and and you are, there you go. You got a lot to do.
You got a lot to do. That's a good way to put it. You got a lot to do, that's for sure.
So, one of the things that Dom always emphasizes to me in his coaching program is that people can do harder things than they think that they can, right? Just like do hard shit. And, we've talked a lot about our experiences in life, and, his hard thing that he had to overcome was that paramedic exam. And once he finished, he was like, "There's nothing in this freaking world that I can't accomplish." Mine was the bar exam. Like, I finished that damn test. I called my dad, like, "There's nothing in this world that I can't do." And I imagine being 18 years old, being a knucklehead, right? Because I know what I was doing at 17, 18 years old. And then jumping into that, tell me how that kind of shaped your mindset.
Yeah, and I guess I'd craved, that. So for me, and I still remember this, just that piece of, having you're wanting for, not having a dad as a boy. Anyone who's lost a parent, on either side, you have that kind of that void. For me, the Army mechanism, that infantry piece, it provided that. And for me, I still remember being in Fort Benning, Georgia, in those pines. I was looking up, beautiful, stars, and I remember just smiling, just thinking to me like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And there were so many other sides of it. There were people right after we got to Fort Benning, and when you got to your unit, your training brigade, they had the sergeant major, all the top brass that were there. They said, "Look, guys, this is it. Like, you boys are here for a purpose. You need to understand where you're going, and every second counts here. What we're trying to do for you, we're not trying to hurt you. We're trying to prepare you for what you're going to experience. And I remember after that, brief or whatever speech, whatever you want to call it, the next day, 4 or 5 of the recruits that had shown up with us that you didn't necessarily know yet, but they were there. They left at 2 a.m. They went through the woods. They rented a U-Haul truck. They were out of there, and they ended up getting caught. And the whole UCMJ action, all the bad stuff. But that's how serious it got in a very short period of time. But that piece for me, I still remember. It was like, wow, early on. These are the guys. This is what we're here to do. And it was kind of like, it was a brotherhood or camaraderie. The infantry. It was.
We all go through it together.
Yeah.
Everybody's going through the same thing, and we're all having these different experiences individually. But we know that the dude suffering next to you is suffering too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it forms that camaraderie you're talking about.
You still stay in touch with any of your boys that you were in with?
I do. I absolutely do. So, unbelievable circumstance, but my commander, Colonel Sassman, he spent the night at my house last week.
That's awesome.
And it's funny how this story kind of goes all together. So, with being a State Farm agent, now we have a securities license that they want us to pass so we can sell, mutual funds and kind of step into the financial, realm. And I had Colonel Sassman was coming in. They have a condo down in Florida. He was coming in with his lady, Miss Tamara, and I had planned dinner for Thursday night. I had planned the Series 65 exam for Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And this thing, it was supposed to be a victory, Ryan Rayburn Series 65 victory dinner. And goodness gracious, I missed it by 2 questions after, just
pounding the books,
giving it everything. And I wrote down, I'm into the Stoic stuff, and this is for a leadership meeting with State Farm. And I saw this reading through it. The path to wisdom is paved with humility, openness to new ideas, and a willingness to challenge one's own beliefs. Socrates. And then I got a Winston Churchill right here. Success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm.
That's right.
Wow. So in it, that the ups, the downs, one thing in the infantry, they tell you just to, keep moving.
One foot in front of the other.
One foot. Hey, it's all flat ground.
Yeah.
I had a Delta Force commando I met in Baghdad. Thought he was going to give me some big crazy hoorah speech, about this and that and how to succeed. And the only thing he told me, it's all flat ground, bro. It's all flat ground. I was like, damn. I don't know if that's the most prophetic genius thing I've ever heard, or if it's just so simple
It's that simple.
it's all flat
That's
ground.
interesting. It's all flat ground.
Yeah.
So
And dude, we've had, we were talking before we got on camera, and we had the same conversation. It's crazy how these things keep coming up, but you never know when the last day is going to be, and you just got to keep moving, and you got to be thankful for the opportunity and the time you have, and everything you have, the hard stuff, the failures and things like that. And again, most people don't want to do hard shit. Most people run away from failure, but dude, it's all part of life, and it's fun. If you look back at it, all the hard shit that you've done and all the things that you go through, it really is, it shapes who you are, right? And it's the legacy that you're going to leave whenever you get done. Did you keep putting one foot in front of it? Did you enjoy the things you were going through? Well,
that, and it's interesting how when you go through hard things, how your mindset starts to shift away from this idea of failure to, it's no, I've just learned a lesson. You just learned a lesson. You missed it by 2 questions. Study again. You nail those 2 questions. It's not necessarily a failure. Your life didn't end. The world's not coming to an end here. You just got to study a little bit harder. and you're going to pass it the next time, right? And so it's just a lesson learned. And we talked about this on the last podcast on how we trained to failure, to find the weak point, to then fix that problem, right? And so that's really all we're doing in this life experience we're having and looking at these things. It's like, well, it's not really a failure. You know, I fucking learned something. Let's move on, and now I won't do that stupid thing again, or I'll do it this way differently or whatever. Yeah. And you just keep, like you said, it's all flat ground. You just keep moving forward, and you just keep that momentum going that way. Versus like, oh shit, I just failed. I missed it by 2 questions.
Yeah.
I'm fucked.
Yeah.
You know, it's the end of my life.
Look,
I'm not a Series 65.
That's right. Or it's, hey, I'm 2 questions away from being an investment advisor.
Man.
And, you know, I can do 2 of anything.
So
Yeah. And that part of it, moving from, you know, the military realm, the private military realm to, you know, business. I remember sitting in that meeting where, you know, there's these aspiring agents that want to go in this program and become state farm agents, and you know, you have the guy that raises his hand and just got out, just got his bachelor's degree. It's like, okay. There's the guys, you know, he's been working at whatever said company and he's a manager. It's like, okay. And then, you know, and then it's like, well, damn, I could do in 2 years. I could do 2 years of anything.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Let me tell you about this 13 months I spent in Iraq on the first go. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that part of it, the experience, these things that you put yourself through. You know, as a small business owner that I'm constantly hiring, and, you know, everyone will tell you all these great things about themselves. You know, tell me what you've been through. Yeah. You know, let's talk about, you know, getting through, you know, the most important, you know, experiences, all the things, the failures, you know, Think and Grow Rich, every seed of success, you know, or every failure, a seed of success is planted. You know, and there you go. Every door, my mom would always say, you know, when God closes one door, he's always going to open another. Yeah.
Are you an only child? Is it just you
nope,
and your mom?
I have an older sister, about a year and a half.
Cool.
Yep, Ashley. And, you know, I have
so it's just you 3, though? Your mom, your dad passed when you were 3, and it was just you and your mom?
For a little while. We lived in 1 bedroom with my mama and papa in Sorrento, and now that's kind of my glue to Ascension Parish, you know, because it's a little further south, and there are some different, you know, you got Gonzales, you got Prairieville, which, you know, then Baton Rouge. So, you know, when people hit me with, are you from Baton Rouge? You know, well, did grow up in a trailer in Sorrento, Louisiana, Football Joe, you know, but, and then my mom ended up around, I guess when I was 7, 8, 9, she remarried to my stepdad, Bob Fogelman, he was a state trooper and, you know, drafted, you know, Army, can tell you all the Vietnam stuff, you know, which for a long time, you know, that story, it didn't necessarily resonate because we were the heroes. We did the, you know, global war on terror and everything was great. And then, you know, all of a sudden, well, wow, maybe it's not so great. You know, we did a lot for what? You know, there's a lot of life exhausted. And that's where, you know, this war thing, I've been able to use it as my experience to meet all these different humans in the way that I've seen it, you know. I've been able to meet my enemy. I met a Major Sam at a conference whenever I was doing private military in Baghdad, Iraq, and he and I started talking. And you know, in the Middle East, you know, it's a lot of, you know, you get out and you speak to each other, and it's all, you know, it's like a dance. You know, you get out there and you show that you're not scared of anything, and you have these conversations. You become friends because every ally you can meet over there, in an instant, they can become someone that can save your life or end it. And, you know, and so I made it a point to always get out, go meet who I'm talking to, see who's in the area. And I start talking to this man, and go figure, as the world, you know, however the universe put us together at that point in time, he said, have you been to Iraq often? You know, do you work? You know, and I told him, well, I was a soldier. And you have to be dynamic. You know, you don't just jump in. Because these are the people.
Here's my life story, bro.
Yeah. Let me tell you, we invaded your country, you know. But I kind of told him I'd been in and around, been there when I was a kid in the military, you know, that thing. And he said, when Saddam, when the war happened, he said I was a major, and I was with this. He said a mechanized whatever unit, and he said I was in Taji, and he said, and right before the mission, he said I had my pictures of my daughter, and he said we knew the Americans were coming. He said. And we were so scared. And he said, all I could say was pray. And I just wanted to see my family the next day. And he said at about 3 a.m., we all decided the hell with this. We'll save our lives. Let's get out of here. And Taji was one of my unit's first missions. And we showed up and no one was there. All their vehicles were there.
Oh, wow.
And,
What
yeah.
bringing it full circle for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he and I
goodness.
hugged, and I've got a picture of him on like one of the first iPhones that I got to get like the storage off of. But I have a picture. It was he and I, and that's where that story of like the depth of some of these occurrences and things, if you're paying attention,
You're paying attention.
and he and I hugged, and it was like this human moment where it wasn't the government telling us we had to hate that guy.
Yeah.
We were just in these unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah.
On bad intel. For whatever reason.
That's not true. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
But that part for me, the human element is everyone's got a grandmother, everyone's got kids.
Yeah, man.
And it's like
wow.
I've learned a lot of different things. I feel like I've been able to kind of detach myself from the war, which the bravado and all the relationships I've built with people that, on both sides have given everything has been important. But it's like the actual war element of it. It's a disgusting, terrible, terrible thing. That,
So, segueing into kind of from the beginning, you've had struggles. You've had things that you've had to overcome in your life. Join the military, go into the Army, get out of the Army, go into private military, right? Get out of that, move into business, make your way back here to Louisiana. You're trying to build a state farm agency, you're building a team. You think back at that stage of your life and you look at where you are currently, right? What would you say are some big lessons that you have experienced and learned?
Goodness, there's so many.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's
right.
so
There's a
much.
lot there, but which ones would you say have had a significant impact on
I'll say this while you're thinking about it, dude. Like that whole idea, you just like when you met that guy, and I've had like a recently a thought or a feeling of the same way. It's like, no matter what happens in business, right? I'm competitive as shit. Like I don't like to, I like to win, and history with just people in business, and I recently, like, my kids walk in my room as I'm maybe having a feeling or frustrated about something, and like you just think about it, it's like everybody else at 8:00 at night, hopefully just sitting at their house with their family. No matter what they do during the day, no matter whether they're competing for business with me or whether they've done something to somebody else, it's like they're at home, and like all you want. I've just in that moment, I just thought, I just hope that that they. I respect the fact they have a family and that they have people that they love, because life's too short, and we're here just to make an impact, and build a legacy for yourself, and hopefully take care of your family. And it's not worth all the baggage and all this stuff. If it's just everybody's just human beings, just trying to do the best they can.
Yes.
We're all running out of time.
Yeah.
And that's a part of you when you go overseas, and that you feel how far away you are from everything and for me, those experiences. I'm sure it's the same with anyone you talk to that's traveled or, all the things around the world, those experiences, that's what this whatever this human thing is in today's age, they lack, because everybody's stuck on that phone, just, just getting those likes and getting
not having to be able to feel lonely.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's what you're explaining. It sounds like, and I've felt that feeling so disconnected from what you're almost like lonely, right? I mean, I remember being deployed with my team, trusting them with my life, but also like going to bed at night, being like, "Damn, I'm pretty lonely right now." You want
to come home.
You want to come home. You want to see your girlfriend. You want to see your mom. You want to have wake up at your house in your bed, and it's like it's a moment of loneliness. However, when you work through that though, and you make it through that, and you like get back home, you're like, "Oh man, that was a little resiliency test there for myself," right? And so it's like working through those bouts of loneliness, which brings that feeling of confidence in yourself almost too, right? And we get pulled away from it because of these damn phones. And it's just like, oh, I can reach out to this person instantly. I can never feel alone, but yet always be alone. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy to think about.
So we were kind of going over our life story, and going into and doing hard things and resiliency and stuff. whenever I tell the story every once in a while, like we won the state championship in baseball my senior year, like the last organized sporting event I ever played in, we won, and Cameron was there. He was part of it. I mean, it was incredible, and the amount of confidence that I gained from that, like going into college and then kind of carrying the momentum. I mean, it shapes who I am. Does the military experience kind of have the same impact for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of part going back, once you do make those hard, those hard realities, they come quick, and when you do make those decisions, that Army decision, goodness gracious. I mean, what a pivotal moment, to join the infantry and join, experience, may it be Air Force or, that sense of, okay, I'm doing something bigger than
way bigger
myself.
than me. Yeah.
Yeah, and the, all the pieces of what you learn and gain from it. And that's another piece of it, though. It can go, in the military, everyone's, circumstance was not my own. And you realize you're at the mercy of fate or however you want to say, just that one, what if I do go to that, get that Ranger Battalion deal and then all of a sudden everything changes. It can be one-off chance, and I have this deal in my office that says, see with all eyes. You have to be able to, you got to see what's out there. And it's not always the easy choice, which is the wise one, the one that will pay you dividends forever. And that Army choice for me, I got my bachelor's degree in business on the GI Bill. When I went to work for State Farm in Houston, I've got my wife at the house with a baby. We're living in a one-bedroom apartment. I'm learning insurance because I don't want to go back to Baghdad. ISIS was around. I don't know if you heard of them, but they were trying to kill me at that point. So I said, man, let me figure this out. And that's a part of it. I used YouTube. I owe YouTube a whole lot of money on the things that you can learn for free. And that's a part where, the GI Bill, there's a mechanism in the GI Bill that I think it's genius. At the time, I didn't like it, but if you fail a course, they make you pay back the housing stipend they give you, and that's how I was paying my rent. So I couldn't necessarily fail.
You had to.
But, so here I sit. I have no school debt. The Army paved the whole way for me. I use it. I'm an infantry guy that used the GI Bill.
You deserve every dollar of that, bro.
And it's those hard decisions though that they're not shiny. And here we sit where you have these kids that come out of colleges and they have no experience. They've been on laptops and on computers. They haven't spoken to anyone, and it's like here I sit with this Army experience that, goodness gracious, has paid dividends. And
so would you say that being able to work through these hard experiences in your whole life would kind of be your life's lesson that you've learned from everything that you've experienced so far, just having the confidence and the wherewithal on how to solve hard things, like how to do hard things, how to solve hard problems, how to get through hard situations? Because that's what I'm seeing as you're speaking and sharing your story with us, is the underlying theme here that I've picked up on from you is that you have figured out from a young age how to work through hard situations, hard circumstances, hard experiences, and to come out the other side with a big old smile on your face.
Yeah. I think that's I think that's
Which
a big part of it. And that's I have notes in this book right here. That, my mom gave me this little journal, and open it up. Day 1, State Farm, 7/25/2016. I didn't even know what my own coverage was. I'm like, and that wasn't necessarily so long ago. But inside of this, Brent Roten, who was the vice president at the time, who was in Texas, and integrity is one of the first pieces of the puzzle. And personal. Can you persevere through getting a no, through having to stay late? All the pieces of just the continual progression of trying to better yourself and do the right thing, and do the right thing. I've got that sign in the dojo you've seen, says, fear no man and do the right thing. And that moral, all the pieces of courage. There's a lot of people that pound their chest and say, yeah, they're the most courageous, but you've got that moral, that moral courage, which is the hardest.
Yeah.
I've said this ever since I've gotten in business. I said, I believe with my whole heart that you can work your ass off and make it to the top of the mountain, but you cannot stay up there unless you have integrity. Like, there's no doubt that the spotlight shines on you and you get to the top. And unless you actually are a man of integrity or a woman of integrity, you're not going to stay there very long. That's inevitable. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that. So one of the groups of people that we really want to speak to with this podcast is people that are currently in the military. Mm-hmm. Those people that are there now that are thinking, what am I going to do next? Like, what am I going to do when I transition out? This has been my whole career. I mean, everybody we've talked to has always spoken about, like, that step out. They didn't know that all they knew as the military was our identity. Mm-hmm. And when they transitioned out, they had to figure out what's the next thing. So tell us a little bit about that, your experience transitioning, and if you can give any advice to people who are currently in the military, what would you tell them about finding the next thing? Yeah,
and so for me, being in the Army and having the perspective of, that Army mentality and, drive through and being able to experience and kind of the global war on terror, called the GWAT babies, we got to see the whole thing. And, for me, being able to detach from that, but also utilize it as, look, as a small business owner and trying to hire people and this and that, you're what everybody's looking for.
1,000%.
You're going to show up early. You're going to have a good attitude, and it's very difficult to say in the same thing. There's the ego, the monster, you're this, and that was very hard, for me, detaching, being in Houston, trying to become this insurance guy. I'm bugging these people, trying to, just get them to say hello and not hang up on me, insurance, wham, and it's like, but I'm tactical commander, it's like, I was in Baghdad, I'm Spartan, and it's like, you can't, there's only so much of that where people, even understand it. But, but from a business standpoint, I think what you've gone through, those hard nights, hard days, all the things that you've overcome, given time up with family, doing these things, well, now you're superhuman. Mm-hmm. Because anyone can learn how to do these things.
100%.
It's 2024. We got, you jump on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's all these different things that you can do, and you already have one of the most important skill sets. You're going to show up and work hard. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you got to have a smile on your face because you're in the damn infantry and you don't have doors on your Humvees, and they just told you, go look for IEDs.
So would you say that when you were leaving the military, you said, I'm going to go do insurance? Or did you say, this is something that I'm drawn to? Or did you say, no, I know that they can make good money and I could potentially have my own agency?
Yeah.
Because that was one thing, as we're talking about this, I struggled with, was trying to figure out, what do I do with all this stuff that I know now? Do I just go and just completely shift gears and go into a career that would pay me well? Yeah. Or do I try to figure out, how do I take all the things that I know from my military experience and apply them to the greater good of whatever?
Yeah, and I wish I could tell you that I was way more strategic with the way that it happened. For me, it has all kind of come full circle, and I've been able to, early on when I went to do the State Farm thing in Houston, I had a buddy I graduated high school with who was a State Farm agent over there, and he said, "Man, you can talk to anyone," and I didn't even piece it together though. I was looking for a rope, trying to come out of the, I was worked for, private military company, 2009 to 2015. That's 6 years in Baghdad, Iraq, throughout, ISIS and these different deals.
What were you, like 2 months on, 2 months out?
I would do like 105 days overseas, and I'd have 35, 40. But every once in a while, you have a visa crisis, this or that. You end up over there 7, 8 months. Yeah. It's just like that. You come home, you kind of decompress for a week or so. Then you got to see the family. Yeah. Then you go on a vacation, and then you got a week left to, start preparing to get your mind right to go back.
Yep.
So.
And you're married at this point?
Well, no. So April 4th, 2015. I come home to get married, and a week after I was getting married, I was selected for a classified project. I've told you a little bit about, and that was who I thought that was my, identity. I got the call up. How does it happen? You get an email.
Yep.
And then you start going down it took me about a year and a half to do all these things. The, 12 passport pictures, all the different, top secret clearances, all this, all that. And I showed up, it's like some Jason Bourne deal. You show up at a random hotel with 35 guys that all look like, CrossFit champions. And there are all these different, superstar heroes. And, a week into it, I got past all the hard stuff. And the one thing that I was certain of that I did not train on was the one piece of, took out my legs and ego. And so there I sat in an airport in Virginia. I'd just gotten dropped. Now they gave me a gentleman's drop, which meant I could go take a course, shooting course, and come back and retry to be Jason Bourne. But at the end of the day, where is that going to get me? So I had some hard questions, and I thought back to what my beautiful mom Rhonda would say is, every door that closes,
Another one opens.
Another one opens. But Mom, what about my team in Baghdad thinks that I'm, Superman? Now I got to tell them I just failed at making it to that deep, dark, cool guy level that, it never seems to end. There's always the next, piece, which I maybe would have had a little bit better leave, a little bit cooler badge. But at the end of the day, I'm ending up at somewhere, that I don't want to be, far away from my family. So that's where this State Farm opportunity, I had just randomly had seen, and, it planted that small seed. Impossible to become a State Farm agent and to, all of a sudden you're in Baghdad, a tactical commander doing this and all these things. And then now you're this guy. It's not going to work. But, I was able to, I saw it. I saw the possibility, and then I connected the dots. I learned a lot, but I realized my dad died in a car wreck. Oh my gosh, I can talk to people about my experience, my story, and at the end of the day, if I can provide a solution, well, then it became real for me, and it wasn't a transactional deal. I'm trying to save people money, and then it was like, okay, if I can tell all these people about this, and I can actually be a guy who helps them, and if I'm protecting them with a short-barreled assault rifle in Baghdad, now I'm protecting them with, financial freedom for their family. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's improbable. But for me, these things lined up. And I think if you're doing the right thing and you're, intentionally, I'm going to read something. I got something right here that Aristotle said, excellence is never an accident. It's always a result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. I mean, that right there, how many times can you make the easy choice? The choice that you don't necessarily understand at that given time, and the hard choice can often, it's gonna pay the dividends, but not everyone sees that. Not everyone wants to take that hard choice.
Yeah,
Right.
no, yeah.
And
sure.
So to bring it full circle too, what I'm hearing you say is that you were able to put yourself on a path after you were done with the military to be able to use those skills that you knew, but also to be able to help other people. Right. And really, that's a running theme in in this podcast is everybody that we've come on, it's always whenever they transition out, whenever they're moving into their next thing, they're figuring out if I can do something to help somebody else, right?
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to lead my path to or lead my life to.
Yeah.
And so that's not kind of a message that we're trying to portray to people that are looking to get transitioned out and moving into business. It's like, find something that you fucking like doing, man. Yeah. Find something that you're going to be passionate about, something that might help somebody else. And I promise you, if you put forth any of the work that you put forth in the military towards that, something is going to happen for you.
And I say this to people all the time: when you're starting a business or you're going to partner with somebody, in business, you need to make sure that you have a common set of values with that person. Because y'all can have a great idea, but if y'all don't share values, you're going to ultimately butt heads and it's not going to work out. And you've said the word, you are a protector is what you've said several times about why you went to the military and what you're doing now, protecting people with the services you offer, and that value of integrity, right? I mean, they teach you that in the military, and that's what you kind of roll into your business. So I think that's why we get along a lot, because we have similar values. But that's why we're sitting here having this conversation today.
Yeah.
So how can, as we're moving into kind of the latter part of this podcast, how can we, Jared and Dominic, in this podcast help promote what you're doing, right? You're a State Farm agent. You have a State Farm agency in Ascension Parish here in Louisiana. Your brand, your growth, where do you see that going, and how can we help?
Yeah, your goals. I know you're a big goal guy. What are some
Yeah,
goals?
well, at this current point, it's to pass that Series 65. Two damn questions.
Those two damn questions, dude.
You know, and that part of it is, you know, the growth, you know, with it being an agency owner and, you know, and being able to provide all, I mean, you know, like we were talking about earlier, you know, from the life insurance perspective, that's a crucial role that people, it's a gap that people, you know, they look at it as morbid or this or that, but everybody's doing it on a $1,200 cell phone.
Yeah.
You know, and boy, you ask Papa, you know, what's important to him, that you know, that iPhone 62 or having something in place. And, you know, that's kind of the what we're trying to build, is just trying to have real conversations and real relationships with people and grow that from a, you know, perspective of, you know, information and education more than, you know, the transaction of selling something, which
Right.
as you know, any type of sales you run into where it's like, this thing for us, it's a whole different deal when you have a young family on the side of you, you know, on the other side, and they're at a point in their life. Goodness gracious, my buddy Jordan Smith, who just passed away Saturday from cancer, one of the strongest, most intelligent, humble fathers. Everything about him. Hit President's Club last year while struggling with, you know, these things, and it's like, who am I? Who am I, man, to say anything is not absolutely at all time? You know, we've got tomorrow. We've got, you know, we've got all these. You surround your people. That's one thing we're saying. Going back to the military, you know, you surround yourself with the best people and people who genuinely, you know, care about you. And in Baghdad and the low profile, you know, when you got 8 guys, and you know, you're rolling with, you know, you absolutely trust their integrity and who they are and the people around you, and moving that into business, you know, that's a part of it.
Yep.
You know, the people who you know genuinely have your back comparatively to just the hot shot who's going to sell the most. You know, and that's kind of day one, you know, when I started my agency, and you know, I didn't have my 3 salespeople that I thought were going to be on board. And everyone knows in the military, Fort Benning, Georgia, oh, is this your team? Great. You're dead. You're dead now. Where's team 2? Oh, okay. You're dead.
Now it's all on you.
Yeah. Where's team 3 and 4? And where are your second and third options?
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily put that in place in the business, you know, perspective. You continually try and build the people around you that have your back, and, you know, that have integrity and have these characteristics that, you know, look, I wrote this down for, you know, the Army Corps values, right? Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. You know, that whole thing right there plays. I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, from a perspective of who's your crew, who's your group, who are you going with when, you know, when the plan doesn't go what you expected, and that's just kind of.
Are you recruiting for your firm right now, for your agency right now?
We are. Yep, we are. We've got.
So what are you looking for? What are the needs?
Well, obviously, in insurance agencies, you know, just acquisitions, you know, that's a big piece. And a lot of that, one of the reasons I think I've excelled in this field is I'm not scared of a good conversation. And you know, and there's prospects and suspects, and we're trying to figure out.
You've done a good job teaching your guys that too, because I know you got a couple people on your team that are rock stars.
Oh yeah, Andrew Simon, you know, he is a rock star.
Yeah.
You know, he's the reason I'm here, being able to do this today. You know, that deal. We got Miss Karen's been doing insurance 23 years now. You know, so we've got people that if you call, we're gonna. You know, one big giant part of business, I would say, when someone calls, Do you
You answer the
genuinely want to
phone.
help them? Answer the phone and try and help them will get you further than I think, in today's society where we sit, just hurry up, give you the quick answer. Nope, boom,
Yeah.
Or, okay, let me just dig into that. Let me see how I can help.
Find a solution for
You
what
know,
you
oh
need.
my goodness gracious. So, we've got a lot to learn. I'm year 5 going in year 6. We've done a lot of great things, but like I said, it's every single day. I mean, you can see these gray slipping in, man.
That's distinguished. That's when you become distinguished.
Well, look,
it's like
people are-
fine wine, man.
People are starting to trust me a little bit more, but, but it does go back. You're in Baghdad, you got ISIS fighting you, and you got one gray hair. You come to do this
you
small
can poke
business
that
deal,
one
and
out.
it's like, look, people are like, is that yeah? But look, from that angle of people coming in from a business perspective, and if they're in the military, you are more valuable than you understand. But that part of it, you have to. It's a very dynamic transition, because the ego and the things that want to pull you to I'm this, those are also the attributes that can ruin it for you. And a lot of guys, that's a very difficult. It's a dance, it's a balance, it's a fight, whatever you want to call it. I fought it off. Luckily, we were in Houston. I didn't give myself many parachute number 2s. It was all or nothing. Set a goal and we're able to attain it in a short period of time with a lot of effort, a lot of making the right choice. That's a big part of this thing. You can in today's day and age, you can make the wrong choice very easily.
Yeah, for sure.
Goodness gracious.
Hey, bro. I love you, man. Thanks for coming, dude. It was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was great having you, man.
Thanks
First
for coming.
podcast. Yeah, man, I like it.